This video is powered by the pros at Pascal Air Plumbing and Electric. Arkansas owned, Arkansas operated. GoPascal.com.
Tom, welcome in. Thanks for joining us here at your time on Tuesday. One of the questions we've been kicking around this morning is the two Peytons, Peyton Stovall and Peyton Holt. And we've gotten a bunch of opinions already. Don't know exactly when Peyton Stovall is going to be back. The way Holt's been playing at second base, how do you think Dave Van Horn decides on that spot moving forward, especially as we get towards postseason?
Yeah, good morning, everyone. And that's a great thought experiment. I have certainly considered that myself, and you know that the coaching staff has had to. I think it makes Arkansas feel like, and Peyton Stovall himself, not have to rush back because he's been so productive. He showed some patience. He showed some power. He's made plays at second base. I think the upside of all these injuries has been that guys like McLaughlin and Stovall, and there's been some others who've gotten more at bats and have been productive with them. So if Stovall comes back, and he's probably going to be day to day the rest of the season, it feels like. But if he does, it's a tough call for them. And he's a right-handed bat. Stovall swings from the left-hand side, right. So. I don't know. Maybe you get into a platoon. It's a good problem to have, as the coaches like to say.
So, Tom, if I told you Borfin, Wagner, Josenberger in your outfield, your infield would be Cowley, Bolden will leave second base open, and you got Slavens at first, pitcher, of course, whatever, and then your catcher, Parker Rowland, Diggs at DH. Is that the biggest question right now that you think faces Dave Van Horn when everyone is back, like Wagner and Stovall?
It is a big consideration. What you do with McLaughlin, who's hitting very well, and Diggs, who has really taken to right field. So it just gives him some options. It gives them some power off the bench. And I don't know. I just think it's amazed me that the amount of time that they've been without Wagner, that they were without Josenberger, that they've been without Stovall, that their pitching staff has had guys go down for long periods of time or for the season, and here they sit atop the SEC West. I think of all Dave Van Horn's seasons, and I'm including 21, that this has been like the best coaching job. And how easily we forget how dominant they were when they won every series in 21. But this year has just been amazing at how they've been, not only competed but won.
Yeah, and I know they didn't sweep this last weekend. Pitching was really the storyline for both teams. Both teams pitched really well. Arkansas wins that series. It felt like it was played at a very high College World Series level, but I think for those of us that, and all of us and a lot of our listeners have watched the majority of the games, it felt like Arkansas put their best weekend performance on. I don't know if it's their best baseball of the year yet, but, Tom, it felt like it's their best performance to date against South Carolina.
Man, it certainly was one of the best weekends of the year. My respect for Mark Kingston, the South Carolina coach, grew just because he framed it up that way, like, this felt like a playoff atmosphere here, and they had not been playing very well. And after the loss on Friday, the 4-1 game, he's just like, man, I like the way we competed today, And going into this series, he said, we're going to get it back. We think one of the best teams in college baseball resides in this building, and we feel like we're going to get it back. And they played pretty good ball. Now Arkansas held them, I want to say, to 2 extra base hits. And they were a team that had been hitting the cover off the ball, and Ethan Petrie had 21 home runs. And you look back over the sluggers that Arkansas faced. I know Condon hit 1 or 2. Dylan Cruz had a good weekend. Hines from Mississippi State, I think he hit 1 home run. But some of the best sluggers have had underperforming weekends against the Razorbacks, and you can count Petrie in that group. I think Arkansas's pitching went up a notch. You only used 5 pitchers on the weekend. Hunter Holland comes off of 3, relatively subpar for him showings. and throws 113 or 116, whatever pitches it was, complete game, and earns some national and SEC Pitcher of the Week honors. It was an incredible weekend.
You know, that poor old pitcher for South Carolina, Matt Becker, he probably felt like a pinata. It seemed like every time you look, there's 4 or 5 occasions in that game Sunday where they hit it right back up the box, right back to the mound, and took him off his feet a couple of times. I know that wasn't planned, but well, Arkansas was making it tough on Becker and Hicks, their 2 pitchers on Sunday.
They did, and also on Saturday they hit the pitcher who threw such a great game against them. Somebody hit him in the foot. Yeah, and 2 more right up the box. After one of them, I looked at him, and he was like shaking his head like, man, they are hitting it right up the middle. But that guy had a great pitching performance, and that helped the Gamecocks salvage, of course, 1 game in the series. But I'll tell you, if you're Dave Van Horn, I mean, I think, I think that clinched them certainly national top 16 seed, and they are right on the brink of clinching an 8.
You don't think they've already done that?
Seed. Yeah, I mean, because Vandy is well regarded, has a great RPI. You don't want to get swept. You don't want to go lose your next 5 games. I think that's the only scenario that they might be out of it. But otherwise, I think if they win once in Vandy, win once in Hoover, I think they're going to get a top 8 this year.
Yeah, and I think we can get too carried away by judging what is and isn't each weekend, and you get the results. It feels to me like Arkansas and Florida especially are trending up. South Carolina and Vandy maybe trending down or staying flat a bit. I don't know what to make of Kentucky. But, Tom, we've learned each weekend the results will make you scratch your head and wonder, well, what is real in this league because they're all so good.
Yeah, that is the truth. And Kentucky's got Florida this weekend. That's a tough series. So between Vandy Arkansas series and Kentucky Florida series and LSU at Georgia, who just got swept at Missouri, your SEC champion is going to come from one of those 3 series, and it's all quality baseball. In Arkansas, I think, you feel like they lost the game 3 at Georgia, that they should have won, and they could be 2.5 up on LSU. Well, they're going to go into the final weekend 1.5 up, and so can obviously clinch it with 2 wins in Nashville.
Dave Van Horn, after I think it was Game 3, was talking about the differences with this team this year playing at home relative to last year's team. Tom, what do you think this team is so much better at home comparatively to that 2018 team relative to last year?
Yeah, good question. The 18 team had a phenomenal home record as well. We know that the atmosphere wasn't any different last year when they lost a few more home games. I don't know. I just think it's the vagaries of the sport, and but certainly the home crowd has been a motivating factor, and Mark Kingston brought it up. I mean, every coach who comes through here. I mean, Brad Bohannon, his mock hog call is going to go down in Arkansas baseball lore, I suppose. So, I don't know. Baum Walker is just a different place, and the fans know the role they play and the synergy that you feel between the fans, the players. When you hear Dave Van Horn speak at Swatters Clubs, it's a real thing, and it's worth, it amounts to plus runs per game.
You mock the hog call, bad things happen to you. I think that's what Bohannon learned.
You get fired. Don't bet on it. It's not a good play.
Yeah,
it's not a good plan.
Don't do it.
Yeah.
Tom, DVH going to win SEC Coach of the Year?
Well, I would say he's the odds-on favorite at this point. If Florida, maybe sweeps Kentucky and Arkansas loses a couple of games and Florida wins it, then you think Sully would have a chance. In LSU, Jay Johnston has a dominant team, but their pitching is starting to struggle after Skeens. And so I say all that to say, given the injury situation they've dealt with, the fact they were picked 3rd in the West, I believe, and they're right here on the brink of winning the outright conference, I would say he's a leader in the clubhouse.
Yeah, so well respected amongst his peers. You just look at where this league is right now, and I'm going to put these 4 teams out there. Give me a percentage of likelihood one of these four teams wins the national title. Arkansas, LSU, Florida, and South Carolina. Get them all four of those. Yeah, Florida, Vandy, South Carolina, Arkansas. What's the odds of one of those four teams being the national champion?
Well, if I was a Vegas book, I mean, I would put that on very close to 50-50, with the rest of the field. Does that sound about right, Tommy?
I think, and that may be a touch low. I really think there's maybe a 20% chance or a 15% chance two of those teams play each other down the road. I know we're getting the cart in front of the horse, but I just think when you look at the RPIs and the dominance of this league in the top 10 of the RPI, I don't know how good Wake Forest is. I haven't watched a lot of Wake Forest baseball, but this feels like it's setting up to be a very SEC-dominant, SEC-heavy postseason. I'll be interested in seeing the bracket and how many SEC teams will ultimately eliminate other SEC teams in the Supers.
Yeah, that's going to happen. The odds are strongly in favor of that happening. But, I think back to last year with four SEC teams being in there and then two other teams that will be joining the SEC. Stanford is very highly regarded again this year. And, we saw them beat Arkansas 5-0 early last year and then get eliminated and, really kind of getting drummed out of Omaha. But I would say they have a chance. And then, I don't know. Matt Hobbs' old team, Wake Forest, I'm like you. I haven't seen a lot of them, but clearly, they're doing a great job in the ACC. And I think Arkansas fans don't want to be the one seed because they've seen that.
Yeah. Give them the one.
Exactly.
Give Wake Forest the one seed. We'll yield it now.
Absolutely, I think they'd feel that way because Tennessee and Arkansas, it's a heavy mantle. And, Tennessee, the home series against Notre Dame last year, Notre Dame, you could just feel it, was the aggressor, and Tennessee was having to, defend something. And there was a certain pressure there, and that might have been what Arkansas felt in NC State the last two games when their hitting just kind of dried up. And even though Kevin Kopps pitched a magnificent Game 3, he wasn't quite himself, and they couldn't score enough. So, there's a lot of pressure that comes with that number one.
And again, since 2009 teams that have been that overall number one seed haven't even made it out of their own regional or super regional, so it's not even a guarantee that you get to Omaha at that point. Tom, I want to ask you a football question. By the way, Tom Murphy, Arkansas Democrat-Gazette, Whole Hog Sports. We were kind of kicking around the idea, SEC spring meetings happening in the month, ACC spring meetings happening right now. If you're Hunter Yurchek, if you're Sam Pittman, you're looking at it from the Arkansas vantage point, do you want 9 SEC games next year, or do you want that to be in a couple years down the road when we look ahead to 2024?
Yeah, that's a great question, and it just feels like when you see the national guys who've been talking to the SEC folks that the trending in the 9-game direction. And, of course, Nick Saban has advocated for it, so that gives it, strong credence. And I think Sam Pittman has even said that he feels like the 9-game might be, inevitable. So it feels like that's going to happen. And I guess that would set you up better for when Oklahoma and Texas join the conference. But I guess, if you look down the road, which is what you have to do, if the playoff expands, then 9 games won't hurt SEC teams as much as it would be in the current 4-team setup. And so you always have to think that way. And it feels inevitable to me.
Other question kind of off that note, if you do get to 9 games, do you schedule 3 cupcakes? How do you go about your non-conference schedule, some of what's already set? But in future years, do you pick 3 teams you can beat?
That's a great question, and I don't know that the SEC would drop its mandatory, Power 5 non-conference opponent rule. They would probably keep it because it's about having attractive TV games, it feels like. Arkansas obviously got by the rule after the Michigan series was dropped and was able to, schedule, I guess that was the Colorado State deal. And now, it expands to the independents and the academies, and so that's why BYU showed up. And by the way, I think Arkansas fans would tell you, very glad that series happened, A, because they won the game, but B, it was an incredible trip last year. And then the Cougars come back this year. But my response is I think you still keep a super tough and then, try to mix it up between the other 2 games.
Here's what you do, boys. You go to 10 games in the SEC. You have 10 games. You drop the requirement. If you want to play another Power 5, fine. If you don't, fine. I mean, there would be some that have an in-state rival they got to play, but go to 12 and then start the season week 0 and have a double bye. Have 2 byes like we've seen in the past. They're going to have to do that at some point and put 2 byes back in the schedule. But I think it's inevitable. It may be 5 to 10 years down the road, but I think administrators, coaches, and fans will lose their appetite when they go to 9 games for this unbalanced 5 at home, 4 on the road. Next year, 5 and 4 the other way. I think that the argument about fairness and balance will override that at some point. And way down the road, I think that's where we're headed eventually.
Well, you're looking down there, and I mean that's a valid point, and I see what you mean with the unbalance. So, but I tell you, 10 conference games. If players' health is a big issue, as they say, 10 conference games is a real booger, and so there may be some inevitability to what you say, but that is a rough schedule in the SEC.
Yeah, but an extra bye, I mean, if you drop the requirement, you're not going to play another Power 5. That levels some of that out. But I think with player safety and because of TV and trying to park all these games on a network somewhere, I think we've got to be moving to a schedule sooner rather than later time where we utilize week 0 and each team has 2 weeks off during the year. It's going to be necessary just from a scheduling standpoint to get everybody in the best TV spots possible.
Well, you may be onto something there, and I guess with the double byes, it gives you a little bit more flexibility in how you schedule. But, yeah, I mean, we just seem to be rushing toward a deal where TV and, you know, the money that comes from that is – and it's been this way, but it's a huge deciding factor in the way things are done.
Absolutely. All right, Tom Murphy with us. Whole Hog Sports, Arkansas Democrat-Gazette. Tom, let's catch up again on Thursday and get ready for big Arkansas-Vandy weekend.
Like the sound of it. Thanks, guys. See you.
BetOnline.ag is your #1 source for all your basketball info, stats, news, and scores. Get the latest odds and lines, including the latest player reports for this year's pro basketball playoffs. BetOnline is always your sports information headquarters this season, as we have you covered for all your sports wagering needs. Basketball, MLB, NHL hockey, right down to UFC and boxing. BetOnline is the fastest and easiest way for you to get your betting info, including live betting options and your favorite casino and card games you can play right from your home. Head to the website today or use your mobile device to get in on the action. Be sure to use our promo code BELIEVE to receive your 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit. That's BLEAV. BLEAV. Bet online, where the game starts.